Yes, I think this is your portion, and
It is.
does your client wish to address anything in this hearing?
I don't think so.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Wilson nodded his head no. Judge, this is a letter from the adoptive parents of Mr. Wilson. It's been 5 years since the worst of this began. You can't possibly understand how sorry we are for the families affected by this tragedy. We cannot change the past, but we wish we could. On that fateful day 5 years ago, not only were the lives and the dreams of 2 women lost, with their families left behind in shock and grief, but another family was left shocked and grieved.
The hearing begins quietly, but the tension is heavy. The judge asks whether the defendant, Mr. Wilson, wants to say anything today. His attorney answers softly, "I don't think so." But Mr. Wilson shakes his head, confirming he won't be speaking. And then, a letter is introduced, a letter from his adoptive parents. Right away, you can feel the emotional weight settling into the room. Backhand index pointing right. How would you react if a family had to write a letter like this in court?
Grieved over a different kind of loss. It's easy to recognize the victims and their families and to feel profound sympathy for all they suffered and lost. One group that isn't often recognized as those also suffering is the family of the accused. Our journey of loss didn't happen all in one day as theirs did, but it was heartbreaking nonetheless. Wade was a joyful child, loved his parents and sisters, and was loved immensely in return. But over the teen years, and then especially in the early years of adulthood, Wade began to slip away from us, becoming withdrawn, erratic, and depressed at first. Then, as addiction was added to mental illness, he became frankly paranoid and delusional, and the sense of loss became increasingly sharp.
The letter begins with a heartbreaking line, "It's been 5 years since the worst of this began." They apologize to the victims' families, acknowledging the tragedy that destroyed dreams and took away 2 innocent women. But then they open a different wound, their own. They explain that the victims' families lost their loved ones in one devastating day. But their family lost their son slowly, painfully, over years of mental illness and addiction. You can feel the courtroom holding its breath. Backhand index pointing right. Do you think the court should consider a defendant's mental health history?
In the system for years trying to get help for his mental anguish and for his addiction. They put a tiny Band-Aid on it and then sent him back into the world without a diagnosis, medication, and without follow-up care. We tried to hold the pieces together, but had no idea how to find the support Wade needed to be the person he was inside. The system failed him, and that fateful day in 2019, we lost the last piece of the son we loved.
The parents describe Wade's childhood, joyful, loving, connected. But as he grew older, everything began slipping away. He became withdrawn. Then erratic. Then depressed. Then paranoid and delusional. This is not a story of sudden violence, it's a story of a young man losing himself piece by piece. Their pain isn't defensive. It's grieving. And their grief is real.
Loved and all the hopes for his future. In those tragic moments, when the cancer of severe mental illness and addiction won, we lost our son, grandson, brother, nephew, and uncle. So we understand the despair, anguish, loss, and hatred for someone or something that takes away someone you love. Because despite everything, Wade is still our son, and we love him. The hopes and dreams of his life are already lost, but the human is still in there somewhere, tortured beyond what most of us can even begin to imagine. Taking his life will not bring back those 2 beautiful women.
The parents explain that Wade spent years in the system seeking help. But what did he receive? A tiny Band-Aid, they said. No diagnosis. No medication. No follow-up support. Just abandonment. And in that failure, his illness took over completely. They aren't excusing what happened, they're revealing how tragedy grows when a system collapses.
There is no justice on earth for that kind of loss. Taking another life only adds to the tragedy. Please see it in your heart not to kill our son and make our innocent family suffer even more. The system designed to help those who suffer and are lost failed him. That system is broken and would be only further broken if it took Wade's last breath.
Then comes the hardest part of the letter. They admit they already lost their son long before the crime. Mental illness and addiction, 1, taking the boy they raised and loved. They begged the court not to take his last breath, saying, taking another life won't bring back those 2 beautiful women, it only adds to the tragedy. This moment is raw, emotional, and deeply conflicting. Backhand index pointing right. Do you believe the death penalty brings justice, or just more pain?
That broken system owes Kristine, and it owes Diane, and it owes their families, and it owes our family. It owes us all the peace that it did not provide to Wade. Candy and Steve Wilson.
The parents deliver one final blow. The system failed Wade. And executing him would only prove the system is still broken. They sign the letter, Candy and Steve Wilson. A signature that feels like a cry for mercy, not for their son's innocence, but for his humanity.
Judge, I would just ask that you colloquy the defendant to ensure that he doesn't want to speak at this hearing.
Oh, well, Mr. Wilson, you have an opportunity, just like during any of the other phases of, well, let me just finish real quick. Any other phases during the case, if you want to address the court, I would permit you to do that. Obviously, everything's recorded. But you would have that opportunity if you wish. No one can prevent you from addressing the court if you wish to, and no one can make you address the court if you don't want to. So it is a decision that's solely left up to you if you want to address the court or not.
Not today.
Thank
Later, when I come back, I will. Today,
Okay.
no, I won't.
The judge turns back to Mr. Wilson and gives him one last chance to speak. No one can stop you from addressing the court, and no one can force you. But Wilson simply says, not today, later, when I come back. His voice is flat, distant, almost empty. This silence speaks louder than any statement he could have made.
Okay, thank you.
The state calls Dr. Thomas Coyne.
All right, sir, raise your right hand. You swear affirm testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You can take a stand.
May I inquire, Your Honor?
Man.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Please state your name for the record.
Sure. Thomas Coyne, C-O-Y-N-E.
Dr. Coyne, did you testify in the guilt phase of this trial regarding the autopsies that you conducted?
I did, yes.
What is your educational background?
Sure. I completed my undergraduate degree at Rutgers University, followed by medical school at Robert Wood Johnson Medical School, which is also at Rutgers University. At that same time, I completed a PhD in toxicology. After medical school, I completed a residency in general pathology or anatomic pathology at the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania. At that same time, I also completed a fellowship or subspecialty training in neuropathology. And last, I completed a subspecialty training in forensic pathology at the Miami-Dade Medical Examiner Department. And so right now, I'm currently board certified in anatomic pathology, neuropathology, and forensic pathology.
Since we're here discussing the brain, specifically the defendant's brain in this case, would you describe what is neuropathology?
Specifically, it is the study of brain disease in all forms. And so we assess the brain from all ages, from fetal stages through old age. And we look for both normal features as well as all different types of features of disease, ultimately to find out if there was any pathology that may explain why a person died.
Now, when you were a part of this neuropathology program, could you just explain what the practical part of that program entailed?
Sure. There's several different practical components. One area is working directly with surgeons as well as neurologists in the hospital in diagnosing disease in patients who are living. And so we would review a person's most often their biopsies with a comprehensive medical team looking at a person's presentation as well as their clinical findings, radiological findings, and then add in our pathological findings. From a medical examiner perspective, we look at the actual brain in deceased persons. And so my job is to look at the brain to see if there is any underlying disease or injury that may explain why that person died.
Now, how long have you worked as a medical examiner?
Since 2014.
And as part of your duties as a medical examiner, do you conduct autopsies on a regular basis?
I do, yes.
Approximately how many autopsies have you conducted?
Close to 4,000 now.
Now, as part of your autopsies that you perform, are you equipped to examine the brain and determine whether the brain shows any signs of atrophy or any kind of injury?
Yes, specifically my neuropathology training allows me to do that.
And in every autopsy, do you examine the brain?
I do, yes. I examine both brains at autopsy, and I also receive brains from offices and other universities throughout the country to examine brain for disease.
And do you testify, or have you testified as an expert specifically just for the brain?
Yes.
And can you just describe that?
I couldn't tell you exactly how many times. I've probably, in my career, testified over 50, but less than 100, and been deposed a number of times as well. In all instances, I'm generally called upon to testify as both a forensic pathologist as well as a neuropathologist, and at times as a toxicologist. But I have been called on probably greater than 25 times specifically just to testify as a neuropathologist.
The state calls Dr. Thomas Coyne, a highly trained forensic pathologist and neuropathologist. He takes the stand, swears in, and begins explaining his qualifications, degrees from Rutgers, Ph.D. in toxicology, training in neuropathology and forensic pathology, nearly 4,000 autopsies, expertise in brain disease, injuries, and causes of death. The prosecution clearly wants to shift the case from emotion to science. This expert will help them answer a crucial question: was there anything in the defendant's brain that explains his actions? Professional case summary. This portion of the trial highlights two powerful forces colliding: a grieving family begging for mercy, and a legal system searching for truth through science. The emotional letter shows the devastation mental illness brings, not only to victims but to the family of the accused. The expert testimony marks a shift toward determining whether the defendant's brain shows evidence of disease that may connect to his behavior. This tension, between compassion and accountability, lies at the heart of this case. Final call to action. If you want more deep courtroom breakdowns, emotional testimonies, and expert analysis, make sure you like this video. Comment your thoughts. Should the court spare his life? Subscribe for more real courtroom moments and detailed recaps.